Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the Fine Down NFL podcast with me, Jim, Denver Dave, Hannah and Punk Raider. We're here talking about NFL, and guys, how are we doing?
About time you bloody turned out. We've been waiting there for ages.
You mean after 256 games and God knows how many other podcasts, we don't even get a week off? What are you playing at?
There ain't no rest for the wicked, as you well know, Punk.
I'm still
Yeah,
feeling good. We're still Super Bowl champions.
Oh,
it doesn't
oh.
pay us to
Did you
rest, punk.
did
Come
you
on.
make it to Seattle for the parade?
Weirdly, I did not,
In
but I
spirit, you were there, though,
watched
right?
so much about. I had Thursday, Friday off, and I'm gonna say 90% of my time was just spent watching the parade and the Super Bowl again.
It's been fun watching back some of this stuff after a week after, because you find out stuff like even on the second drive of the game, the Patriots were already like really down, and they knew they were going to
Yeah.
lose.
Do you know what I
And then
watched?
Mike Vrabel saying, "Do you want to continue?" To Drake May
Yeah,
after getting pancaked onto the sideline.
yeah. I watched the mic'd up, which is still like 45 minutes. I watched that on Sunday. Couldn't think of a better way to spend my Valentine's Day. And yeah, watching that and just being like, oh yeah, wow, yeah, the Patriots were having a bad time from a minute in.
Yeah,
Like, why was I so stressed? Why was I pacing? Why was I worried?
it's your
We were
teams.
asking
Anyway,
the same thing.
we are here to start our autopsy series. As the season is finished, we need to find out what happened to these 32 teams. We're going to start with this episode focusing on the NFC North.
Oh,
Chile. This was actually a very competitive division. All teams finished with a winning record. 9-8 was the worst of any of the teams. They all had a positive point differential. So, positive thinking. We're going to go from in order of the finishing position for the division. So we start with and also just for house rules, we have a 10-minute timer for each team. So
yeah, we'll
we're going to
break
stick to it
that.
this time.
We normally do. Whenever we put a timer or anything, inevitably we
Bring up
go
the
over.
clock. We're going to start with the Chicago Bears, and they finished 11-6 after being 5-12 the year before. So from worst to first, that's some significant improvement. Obviously, it helps when you hire Ben Johnson, the Wunderkind, Lions offensive coordinator, to come over as the head coach. There were upgrades on the offensive line, and the addition of rookie standouts like Colston Loveland and Luther Burden III didn't hurt either on the offense. We do best game, worst game. So I picked, obviously, it's got to be the wild card win over the Packers for their best game, right? They scored 25 points in the fourth quarter. Just awesome for Bears fans to witness that, a 31-27 win, and to win a playoff game at home against the Packers. I don't think it gets any better than that. Worst game, I picked week 2 in Detroit. They conceded 14 points in every quarter except the third, but only conceded 10. They lost 52-21. They were then 0-2 at that point.
52.
52-21, yeah.
Yeah, it got
Not,
smashed.
yeah.
Forgotten.
Not a great start to the season for them, but they obviously rallied after that. They did lose in the divisional round to the Rams 20-17, took it to overtime with another last second touchdown drive to force that overtime. Guys, talk to me about the Bears. How impressed were you?
I've loved watching the Bears this season, because Ben Johnson, firstly, is just a maniac. We've mentioned many times over the season,
Mm.
just an absolute maniac. Like him shaking LaFleur's hand at the end of the
Microseconds.
yeah, like, and just all of it. And he's just such a perfect fit for Chicago. And we know I've been a fan of Caleb Williams since he's been in the league, and just seeing him not being as consistent as we probably would have liked, but just having some unbelievable baller moments. And yeah, just seeing him having fun. Like we said a lot all the time, but like it's about that mentality, and the Bears have had such a losing mentality for years, and then suddenly they were like, oh, it's fun to win, isn't it? Should we just
Mm.
do that some more and play good football? And it was really exciting to see what. So they're one of those teams I always think are like really, really old, but actually this season they've been quite young. And like to see a young team just come up with an absolute psycho for a head coach and just have fun playing football. Like I've really enjoyed the Bears this season.
They completely and utterly remind me of the Commanders from last season.
Yeah.
Mm.
7 comeback wins, young quarterback that looks as though he's going to take the league by storm. I do worry that they don't have a particularly great receiving core. And the fact that they've had to have 7 comeback wins, um, it kind of says to me that this is unsustainable.
Mm.
So it'll be interesting to see when we get round to next season what moves they'll make in free agency, or what rookies they pick up, because I don't think, and I think the Commanders have kind of proved that this year, although they are an older team and kind of had a lot of injuries, you do get that drop off. You cannot continue to win games coming back in the fourth quarter and so on and so forth. You guys were a lot higher on the Bears a lot earlier than I was.
Famously.
Yeah, but
Incorrectly.
and I'm still not entirely convinced by
No, we
them.
know.
There's now tape. Well, you've got a second year quarterback with a rookie head coach who will have completely flipped his playbook around because he used to coach in division. I just think, yes, this was a lovely season for the Bears. I think they had a lot of fun, but I think the real work is going to be next season and whether or not they can maintain themselves at the top of this division, or whether, other teams now will sit there and go, well, we know your tendencies, we know what you're going to do, we know how your quarterback's going to play in your system. Now we know how to stop you. Yeah, although they won the division and deservedly so, I just want them to show a bit more next
Mm.
season and not be a one-season wonder
Like the Commanders.
like the Commanders.
I can keep it really simple. This is the step that Chicago have been waiting to make for about a decade, if not longer. They've made the step. Now they need to push on and continue, and they need to be aggressive in free agency and the draft in order to do that.
Yeah,
I would
we're
also
talking.
like to say they have one of the best player names that I genuinely don't think I saw all season. I think he only played 8 games, but and I'm going to butcher this, so apologies in advance, good sir. Amen Ogbong Beminga. Ooh, what a
Where'd
name!
you find that? You look on the
Uh,
depth chart, Will.
yeah, I've been looking at the ESPN stats and stuff for these
Hmm.
teams. Yeah, what a name! Potentially my favorite name of the season.
Yeah.
He's a linebacker.
Well, talking of stats, obviously Caleb had a pretty good year. He was 58 yards shy of 4,000 passing yards. His touchdowns went up by 7 to 27. Only 7 interceptions, so good ratio. His sacks went from 68 down to 24, which tells you a massive story about why the Bears played so well this year. Is that
Wow.
Ben Johnson could scheme ways up to keep him on his feet and getting the ball out quicker. Less rushing yards for Caleb, but got 3 rushing touchdowns. He even got 1 receiving touchdown, again, thanks to Ben Johnson. Talking of rushing as well, the Bears went from bottom 10 in the league last year to third most with 2,456 rushing yards. Only the Bills and Ravens got more yards on the ground. John Swift had over 100,000, over 1,000. Carmen Ungai almost 800 rushing yards. But yeah, the leading receiver was Colston Loveland, which is where you need to obviously focus now.
That's a problem, especially when you've got Roma Dunze and DJ Moore in your receiver room.
Yes.
Yeah.
You've got to find ways of getting them the ball earlier, or you've got to realize that they're not good enough and upgrade. Yeah, I don't hate what the Bears are. I just feel like I've seen this before
Mm.
in many one season wonder teams. Even the Lions to a degree that were kind of a 2-3 season team, and still have a lot of those pieces there. And we'll get
Well,
onto
we'll get
them
to the
later.
Lions.
Yeah,
We'll get
yeah,
to
yeah.
the Lions,
But
but
I
But
just, I just, I just can't get that high on the Bears yet.
interesting on Loveland Moore and Adunze, they weren't crazy dissimilar in their yards. They all got 6 touchdowns. And Rome was targeted 90 times, more 85 and Colston 82. So for Colston to still get that many, to still be above them all by, like, I can't do quick maths, by like 30 yards.
So
yeah.
I can't do slow maths, so don't worry about it.
He broke some big runs. There were some highlight plays from Colston Loveland this year.
Yeah.
He won some games for them.
250 yards after catch,
I mean,
I
the
think the
which,
Bengals
Bengals was
one
one game.
stands out, doesn't it?
Yeah,
yeah.
Uh, that 40-yarder straight down the middle
yeah.
when it all went a bit nuts in the final 5 minutes.
It wasn't just the offense. I mean, one test had 10 sacks again this season. He's been a great
Hmm.
pickup for them, mid-season last year. They had 33 takeaways, 23 interceptions, 10 fumble recoveries. Kevin Byard had 7 of those interceptions. It's been decent on both sides of the ball. But I think this
It's
is
been
what you get when you finally get someone like Ben Johnson a chance at the head coaching job. It's what we saw in Detroit, and he managed to make Jared Goff a perennial Pro Bowler.
Yeah.
So
I
now
think
he's got Caleb Williams.
I think the other thing the Bears need to do is really get some depth. I think once, especially on the defense, once you get beyond those first sort of 12, 14 players, then you start kind of going, you find players with strange names at linebacker and so on and so forth. And you just kind of think you need a little bit more rotation in there to keep you within the games.
Yeah. And they're starting to play the kind of football as well that encourages injury. And so you need, which, unfortunately the Lions often did, and any kind of explosive offense does. And yeah, you definitely you need more depth if you're going to start doing crazy shit because your players are going to get injured.
But if this is the way Ben Johnson's going to carry on after his first season, then it's going to be hella entertaining while he's there.
Hell yeah.
Well, what do we think then? Do we think this is the start of a beautiful friendship?
Yeah,
It should
I
be.
think so.
I
It
think it
should
will be
be.
for a few years.
Hmm.
It should be right up until they have to pay Caleb Williams a shed load of money,
Yeah.
and then he has to become the tractor rather than the trailer.
You think he was the
And
trailer? I think
no, not necessarily, but he
okay.
wasn't he wasn't the singular cause of their success. He was an aspect of it. And when you become 32% of your team's cap space, you then have to become the sole reason. I'm not saying he can't. I'm just saying he has to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. 13
Well,
seconds left. Boom.
finishing early on the Bears. Congratulations, Chicago Bears. This is the first division title since 2018, I believe. It's been a while for them, and after that we're down the bottom as well. So
Did you do that deliberately just to use up those final 7 seconds?
do what?
That little spiely bit at the end.
That's called playing to the vocal. It's
It's
what
called
professionals
vamping,
do.
darling. That's what I keep telling you.
Vamping. You know, vamping. Oh, dear me.
We're on to the second team, and that was the Green Bay Packers. So they finished 9-7-1. They were 11-6 last year, so a slight regression. Their big move, obviously, in the off-season was trading first-round picks for the next 2 seasons for Micah Parsons
Hmm.
from the Cowboys. He didn't complete the entire season, but he did do, what you expect Micah Parsons to do. About, was it 12 sacks or so? Best game, worst game. So best game, there was a 3-game divisional stretch where they beat all their rivals. I picked the week 13, 31-24 win in Detroit. Love threw for 4 touchdowns in that game. So I just thought of all of them, that's probably the most consequential. Worst game, there was a 4-game losing streak to take him into the playoffs as a lame duck. The biggest loss was 41-24 against the Ravens. Derrick Henry had 216 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns. I've heard that's not good. They then lost in the wildcard round to Chicago, as we've already mentioned. So guys, talk to me about the Packers.
I think there's a phrase that sums the Packers up really well last season, and that is that they were consistently inconsistent.
Mm.
Yeah.
So they would go on these little runs of 3 or 4 games where they looked like, the really solid playoff team and both sides of the ball were working and so on and so forth. And then they'd have runs like towards the end of the season where, again, they get a 4-game losing streak and just can't get themselves over the line. They can't catch the ball anymore. The defense can't stop anybody. Yeah, look, Jordan Love is Jordan Love. He's always going to be Jordan Love. Whether you love him or hate him, and I know 2 of you on this podcast at least have very differing views. Um, I think until he starts becoming a more consistent quarterback, they're going to struggle to, especially in this division, because, let's be honest, all the other teams are not slouches. I think they're going to struggle to really make an impact in the playoffs. Having said that, they did trade away pretty much their entire rush defense, so I think they do need to look at bulking up their defense. I think, although they do have an exciting young receiver core. I think it would have behooved them sometime over the last couple of seasons to have brought a bit of experience into that room, because clearly Love is, he's good at spraying the ball around. It's just quite often he'll be hitting far too many of the opposition players as well as his own. So if he has that one real safety blanket that he can always aim at, I think that will help him as well. Um, the flower and the coaching, it never really changes with the Packers. It's always, they never do anything that blows your mind, or is something that you've never seen before. But equally, actually keeping it simple and consistent can help out a young team. So again, a lot of these players are going to be going into their third, fourth years next year, and very much like the Bears, they're kind of in that, you need to show me something now. And if they can bolster the defense a bit, and kind of stop some of the point scoring leaks that they have, I think they could improve.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think last year they were the youngest team on average out of all the teams that played. So in terms of potential, they've got bags of it. And yes, they haven't got a first round pick this year, but they've still got 8 picks. They should load up on defense. I feel like their offense is young enough and cocky enough to get good. The issue that I've got with them is their run game fell off a cliff last season. Um, some part through injury, but they need to make decisions on who they bring back. Their cap space is a bit of a mess, but for Green Bay, it's less of an issue because they don't really bring in free agents. Overall, this will be the season that should be forgotten, because I think there was a lot riding on this season with the players that they brought in, Mika Parsons specifically. But they've got Jordan Love, and he again bags of potential. I disagree with he is what he will always be. I think if you can try and just tone down the madness a little bit, then it might be. I think there's a positive in there, but I certainly don't think he's trash.
Yeah, I think I've been looking at his stats and stuff, and his stat line has shocked me because I remember him being worse this season.
Hmm.
He's
But
bad
like,
in key moments. That's the issue.
Yeah.
yeah. So like, he only had 6 interceptions, 21 sacks, 3,381 yards. Like, he wasn't. He's 66% completion. Like, I I think because the bad moments were so bad,
Mm.
I think that's what's stuck in my head. But I've always been quite indifferent to Love. I think but you're right, he's too inconsistent, but it is a young team. And I think the thing I'm most upset about learning about them today is they've got no fun names. The best name
Mm.
that I've got is Carrington Valentine,
That's a good
It's not
name.
bad.
who's a cornerback, but compared to Amen before, slacking a bit. But
Sounds
yeah,
like
I
an Eddie
just
Murphy character, doesn't
yeah.
Valentine, yeah, trading places.
I was going
it?
to say trading places. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they've got some good potential across the board. Like, obviously, Tucker Kraft, when he was playing, I mean, he only played 8 games and he's still third in receiving yards for the
He was
Packers.
dangerous. Yeah.
Like, and if he'd have kept going, but then, when you look at like rushing yards and stuff, Josh Jacobs had 929, and the next best, Emmanuel Wilson, had 496.
Mm.
Like, there just isn't the depth that they have, even less depth than the Bears do. And they're too, and I just remember Jordan Love getting flustered in moments that he shouldn't have been flustered in. And like moments that you'd think he'd be flustered in, he was really cool, calm, and collected. Like, he's inconsistent in a way that is inconsistent. Whereas, like, you look at like Drake May, for example, he was flustered the entire Super Bowl, biggest game of his career, second year, terrifying. Okay, be flustered in that game, pal. That makes sense.
Hmm.
But Jordan Love and the Packers, they'd be winning games, and then suddenly he'd be like, "No, I don't understand. I'm panicking now." And that's the sort of weird thing that he needs to get under control to have success. This is this is a weird time, I guess, for the Packers. I think they're probably going to be in rebuilding for a couple more years. But now I've said that, they're probably going to go and win the whole thing next year, aren't they? Because Seattle was supposed to be in a rebuilding year last year, and look what happened.
Nah.
But yeah, there's enough. there's enough for them to be hopeful, but they've still got a hell of a lot of work to do.
So two things I want to mention here is first of all, we've just seen 2 seasons of Jordan Love. He played 15 games both times, so he doesn't complete a whole season. He was very close with those stats, around 3,500, yeah, 3.3 thousand passing yards, around the 63 to 66% completion, like you said, 24 touchdowns, 8 interceptions is the average. His sacks went up from 14 to 21, which isn't a great sign. But this is kind of what you're going to get now from Jordan Love. That's if you're okay with that, if your team can survive with that, usually with a much better rushing attack, then yeah, okay, you can live with that. But he's always been inconsistent. When I scouted him out of college at Utah State, he just sprayed the ball up to anyone and everyone, and he's still doing it now. And you can't talk about him learning because he spent several years behind Aaron Rodgers learning to come into the role. So he's not like 24. He's getting on now. So this is kind of what you're going to get out of Jordan Love, as far as I'm concerned. The other thing I want to talk about briefly was the enigma that was Matthew Golden as
Mm.
part of their entire draft class. I know he had a couple of small injuries, but they did not use Matthew Golden correctly, and it proved it in the wildcard round where he finally got his first touchdown and 84 yards on 4 catches. The rest of the year, he had 361 yards and no touchdowns. So why bother drafting the wide receiver in the first round for the first time in God knows how long when you're still not going to use him properly?
I
That
mean,
It's
how
entire
because
much
they
is
draft
wanted to
class
get the
wasn't
monkey
good.
off their back, wasn't it, of never having drafted a
But
receiver.
the entire
only
draft
because
class,
the draft was there
was it
as well.
Anthony Belton was the only one who got any regular playing time at right guard. They drafted him as a tackle. It was not a good draft class for the Packers.
Yeah, how much of that is, I'm just talking specifically on Golden, how much of that is on Golden, how much of it is on the organization? Because, Golden's a more likable fella than young Coleman, for example.
Hmm.
And the issues Coleman's having, we put squarely at his door,
Yeah,
whereas we don't with Golden. Now, some of that might be because of, turn up late and attitude problems, but the fact is, Golden hasn't looked as good as he did in college. He
yeah, it was
doesn't look
great at
as
Texas.
explosive. Yeah. Um, but again, the team's very young. There'll be development there. So we've got 18 seconds left. Come on, Jim Vamp.
No,
Shows what you
I
got.
gave you so much to go on there. Well, I'm not going to show you the time anymore.
Yeah, and I stopped purposely as well.
Like that, is it? Okay. Well, are the Packers getting any better next year?
No.
Uh,
If they
I
if they work on the trenches, I think they could be.
I agree with that.
Hmm.
Definitely agree with that. They need to get grown-ups on the trenches. I would say their success is going to be more determined by how good their division is rather than how good they are.
They're in trouble then.
Ooh.
So they're going to need to keep pace with what the other teams in the division do. Well, they're in the same division as Minnesota, so let's not
Yeah.
start going too quick.
Oh,
I think
talking of which,
they were 4-2, weren't they? The Packers this year in division.
I can find out.
4-2, 3-3.
yep, they were
Something
four
like
and
that.
two. Same, yeah,
Yeah.
4-2.
same as the Vikings.
Oh,
Yeah, that was a weird one, the Vikings.
not
Well,
something
talking
to
of
be
a
proud
weird
of.
one, let's get on to them, shall we? The Minnesota Vikings. So they finished 9-8, but they were 14-3 last year. So I think the big thing, obviously, was they faced a QB crisis as rookie JJ McCarthy struggled with just 57.6% completion rate, and Carson Wentz dealt with a lot of injuries. Plus, he's just been broken down anyway. The defensive line was a bright spot, increasing its sack total to 49. They fired GM Kwesi Adofo-Mensah at the end of the season. Best game, worst game. So best game, they shut out the Commanders and they beat up on Jake Browning's Bengals. But I picked their second win over the Lions in week 17, 23-10. Max Brosmer was the quarterback and only passed for 51 yards. But the defense shut down one of the best offenses in the league, 6 turnovers and 5 sacks. That must have felt pretty good for a Vikings fan. Worst game, they did get shut out by the Seahawks, but they won the Super Bowl, so that isn't the worst result. I picked the week 2 loss at home to the Falcons, 22-6. Most because they started the warning signs for 9. Just 52% completion percentage, 2 interceptions and 1 fumble. Must have set the alarm bells ringing.
And also losing to the Falcons is garbage.
It's the Falcons, exactly. Yeah, Bijan just had his way with that team at that point. Guys, the Vikings, go.
Just what a mess.
Mm.
It just felt icky. And obviously I'm very grateful because they gave us Darnold.
Yeah,
But it felt like such a weird decision to go in that angle at the start of the at the start of the season to get rid of Darnold and to elevate JJ into QB1, which for me set me off on the back foot immediately with them. Because if Darnold had had a trash season or an average season, okay, but like he hadn't. And to be so confident in a guy that even when he was playing, when he wasn't injured, still wasn't very good. Like it
Mm.
just, and and I felt sorry for him. I don't like seeing grown men be sad, but that's a bold-faced lie. I apologize. I thoroughly enjoy that,
Yeah.
but it just felt like this Vikings team had no idea. Like throughout, even when they were winning, and when, just at all points, it just felt like they had no idea what was actually going on. And it's one of those where, I mean, they didn't even have any like great names on paper, but it just felt like they were like, oh, just a bunch of guys in purple. Like at no point did I really remember them playing like an actual fully fledged team on any side of the ball. And talking of names, I'm really going through the trenches with this one. Chaz Chambliss, that's their best named player. So take from that what you will. We're on a
Well done,
steady
Jazz.
decline.
Sure.
For me, Justin Jefferson must be the most frustrated player in the NFL.
Yeah,
The Vikings have not been able to get him the ball in far too long now. Even when Darnold was there, Jefferson's numbers weren't great.
yeah,
If I'm him, I'm looking to get out, to be honest, because until they fix whatever's going on at quarterback, they're not going to be able to challenge for a division or anything else. The defense is great. I don't think, there's not a huge amount that you could really improve on the defense. Yeah, they could maybe do some pass rushing, but they play well as a unit. Um, the offense, that it's just a bit of a mess. There isn't really a running game. The quarterback's not very good. Adai and is it Adai? The Addison.
Yeah.
Um,
Jordan Addison.
Addison and Jefferson will always give you, and Hawkinson for that matter, will
Hmm.
always give you opportunities to hit them, but they're just never they're never going to go anywhere until they figure out what they're doing at quarterback. Now, whether that's bringing someone in or actually trying to coach McCarthy up, it was an insane decision to get rid of Darnold at the
Yeah.
end of last year. Absolute insanity.
Moved the chips into the middle of the table, didn't they?
Well, I mean, they chucked it all in on McCarthy, and
Hmm.
I have no idea what he'd shown them because he was just coming off his injury, and
He was
you
a
know,
winner though, Punk. He's a winner.
well, yes, isn't he? Isn't he
Yeah.
just a
One of them
Am
massive
many.
I
old winner?
am I reading this right that Justin Jefferson only got 4 touchdowns last season?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
I think no team has fallen because year on year you want to progress, and I don't think no team has fallen as far as the Minnesota Vikings have. Maybe not in terms of record. I'm sure statistically there's someone else that has, probably the Jets. Well,
No.
but just in terms of vibe, in terms of actual what you see with your own eyes,
Hmm.
and Punk, you're 100% right. Hannah, you're 100% right. It's all because of what they're doing at quarterback. You
yeah.
moved off not just a Super Bowl winning quarterback, but you also moved off Daniel Jones. And let's not forget, for a long time there was people talking about him potential being an MVP candidate. Although,
yeah.
playing with a broken leg somewhat, got rid of that. But if JJ McCarthy is the answer, I don't even want to know what the question is.
No,
Hmm.
Now, their biggest performer last year was Brian Flores. Brian Flores
Mm.
saved so many blushes from that team.
Yep.
And I'm sorry, Dallas Turner, their first round pick, is trash. The fact is, by the end of the season, he wasn't even starting. And if you're a first round pick that's not starting in a Brian Flores coach team, you've got real problems going there. I don't see much light on the horizon for this Minnesota Vikings team. If it's me, I move off JJ McCarthy. I know
Yeah.
they've invested a lot in him, but the GM who got him, you've got a get out of jail free card now because the GM who went and got him is now gone, so you can move off him. And he will make someone a half decent backup. I wouldn't surprise me if they get a bridge quarterback in. They love a San Francisco quarterback. Maybe just go and get Mac Jones for a
Mac
season.
Jones. I mean, Daniel Jones is available again, isn't he? And Malik
Yeah.
Willis is another one
Yeah.
whose name's
Or
floating
they
around
could
out
look
there.
at one of the other quarterbacks, Tua or Murray, that
Tua,
are available
Kyler
now.
I don't.
Murray.
I don't think. I don't. If Miami would have got rid of, if I say this, it might have happened by the time this is actually released. The way Miami are releasing people, if they would have wanted to get rid of Turi, I think it would have gone by now. I think
Oh,
they're
they're
going to
definitely shipping
have.
him.
I think they're going to have to keep hold of him just by the way his contract's situated. They keep him till next year, then next year they can get rid of him. He's not going to affect it so much because at the moment, if they get rid of him now, kill him. But
Well, I think we've all identified the problem for Minnesota was the
yeah,
quarterback position. Until you sort that out,
and
there's nothing you can
recruitment.
do about it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
true.
Also, I'd like to give an honourable mention to another fun name.
Mm.
Their
Brian O'Neill.
guard, their guard, Will Fries. Classic, classic. But yeah, they just, and then even with, I mean, they looked more confident with little Max for those 8 games than they did with JJ the whole rest of the season. They didn't look good, don't don't get me wrong, but they at least looked confident and a little bit competent. Just throwing Brosner in there just to be like, hey pal, there's no pressure. But there isn't really any pressure on JJ McCarthy either, because everyone's just like, no,
No
it's
one
not his fault.
cares.
Everything's fine. Yeah, it's I don't know, it's just a weird vibe in Minnesota for a team I've always found to be quite proud and quite, to attention on things. They've just like absolutely lost the plot this season, and who knows how long it will take for them to get it
But
back.
since I've been a fan of the NFL, they've always somewhat stuck with the quarterbacks they've got. They did with Kirk Cousins, but then when they make a move, they tend to go aggressive. They traded a
Mm,
first round pick for Sam Bradford, and that didn't go too
Hmm.
well. So, be aggressive and go and get the guy you want.
I
Even
think
if
that's
it's
what they've got to
Gino,
do, right?
man.
They've got to do that.
Even if it's Gino, just go and I mean, if you went and said, look, we'll give you a sixth rounder for Gino, we'll just take on his contract. Raiders would go, yeah, go on then, why not?
Yeah.
But just identify the guy you want and go and get him. No, don't mess around.
yeah.
I think it was right to also shout out Brian Flores because
Yeah,
you look through that squad, there aren't that many big names in there, and the things he managed to get
there's
them
a
doing,
couple.
the scheming he was doing with the players that he had to scare offenses off the field a lot of the time, but down the stretch was pretty impressive. Um, Byron Murphy definitely stepped up as well at corner.
Yeah. They got him
Uh,
from the Cards, didn't they?
they did, yeah.
He was good at the Cards. They've also got Jonathan Allen as well. He might be one of my
Hmm.
favorite players in the NFL.
Javon
He's
Hargrave, the
absolutely
next Steeler,
phenomenal.
and then the
Yeah.
Eagle. Getting on a little bit, but it's still very scary. That front four is very good
And
for
they've
the
still
Vikings.
got Harrison Smith.
Still got. How is he not retired yet,
I
Harrison?
don't
What are
I
you
know.
mean,
doing,
let's be
man?
honest, he's probably going to retire this
Isn't it
year, isn't
Is
he?
he
40?
divorced? Is he paying for like a?
Well, no, it's because he's a safety. He's only 1.2 million a year, and he's
No.
still the highest earning safety in the NFL. That's just the way it works. I think
He's
he's
got
on
to be
like
paying
year
some sort of
14 or
massive
something like
payment,
that.
some child support payments or something. He's got to keep going.
Yeah, he's 37.
It's like Lionel
Christ.
Richie or something.
He's a young
He's lost
pup,
half his fortune.
absolute young pup. He can play for another 5 years.
Can they turn it around next season?
No.
No.
Oh, what a downer! What a
I,
Debbie Downer to
I,
end on.
if they get the quarterback right, then
Yeah.
maybe. But I don't see them getting the quarterback right. So
Oh, it's not a quarterback draft, unfortunately for them. So,
To
but there
answer
are
your
some quarterbacks out
question,
there.
on Harrison Smith, career earnings 107.1 million.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever maternity bill he's paying, it is pretty horrendous
Hello.
if that's the case.
Okay. We're on to I can't believe I'm saying this. The final team in the NFC North was the Detroit Lions.
Are you kidding me?
getting flashbacks to 5 years ago.
I mean, 1 year away from their record-setting 15-2 end. They ended up 9-8. They lost both their coordinators. Obviously, Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. One stung more than the other, clearly. New offensive coordinator Joe Morton struggled and was stripped of play calling duties in week 10 before being fired at the end of the season. Best game, worst game. So the best game, the Lions mostly beat up on bad teams and lost to good teams. I picked the week 3 win in Baltimore, 38-30. They scored a touchdown in each quarter and then 17 in the fourth. They also sacked Lamar 7 times. Worst game, probably the most miserable, was the week 10 loss in Philadelphia, 16-9. Goff had 38% completion percentage, picked on his opening drive. They went for it on fourth down 5 times, converted none of them. So The reason it worked last year for me was that Dan Campbell despises punting, but Ben Johnson could scheme up plays to get around that and actually convert on fourth down. This season, we saw what happened without that talent to back up the ballsy calls.
Mm.
But guys, the Lions, come on. The Lions, fourth!
I know. Honestly, devastated. Like, I really liked the Lions. I love Dan Campbell. I've made no secret of that.
Mm.
And it was just, it's so nuts because when you look at their stats, like their
Yep.
player stats, compared to anyone else in the NFC North, actually, you'd be like, oh yeah, they were number one, clearly. Like, but they just couldn't get it together. And they're just goes to show how important coaching is, right? Just
Mm.
goes to show because they didn't really have any major changes especially in offense, except from Ben Johnson. And it was like they just forgot a lot of the time it felt like, and I've made this reference before, it might have been to the Lions, it might have just been to another team. But in Space Jam, when the Monstars take all the good essence and put it in the basketball,
Yes.
that's what the Lions felt like a lot. Like I was rooting for them a little bit
I
this
mean,
season.
the Lions
And
even lost to the Chiefs. Who loses to the Chiefs?
I know, it's
yeah.
dreadful, isn't it?
So yeah, it was we do have two pretty good names. I couldn't actually pick between these two names.
Rock your sin.
Yep. Is the first one. And then Mekhi Wingo,
No. The
defensive
best is
tackle.
Amon-Ra St. Brown. It doesn't get any better than that.
I don't
Sun
know.
God.
His brother
Yeah.
Equiminius, I think he doesn't even have the best name in his family. Like I think Equiminius and Brown
That might be
is
disqualifier.
Do you know what his dad's name is? John Brown.
John.
Yeah.
Something. And then they've got a third brother who also has an unusual name, but not as crazy. And also Alex Anzalone, contender for the best hair in the NFL, according to my mum. So throw that one out there.
Yeah, he definitely
luscious
took on
locks.
Clay Matthews, didn't he, for that?
Yeah,
Did, yeah.
but with a better hairline.
I
There you go.
think you're right what you're saying about the offense, Hannah. I think the only problem is that they lost half the offensive line. And I think that's where their problems have really stemmed from this season. That and the fact that they still haven't got any real depth in the defense.
Yes.
Once you start losing Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph, then there's not a lot coming in to back that up. But I think moving Graham Glasgow to centre didn't really work.
No.
I mean, they even tried to bring Frank Ragnow back, didn't they, at one
Yeah.
point, and he just wasn't fit enough.
No.
Yeah, I think that for me, the Lions are the Lions. I don't think the offense changed that much. I do think it took them a little while to kind of get used to the fact that it wasn't Ben Johnson play calling. So, you
Yeah.
can chalk off a couple of wins there, a couple of wins around depth at the defense when you're playing some offensive teams. It's quite easy to see where the Lions lost the division this year. Having said that, I don't think they fell off so badly that you really can kind of write them off. I think they
Agreed.
still have that window open. I think, let's be honest, Dan Campbell is not going to be a happy camper. After what happened last season, what did they finish 9-8?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's still a winning season, but
You're bottom of the division.
You're bottom of the division and 15 wins the season before. It's like they did get some injuries at bad times for them, but I think they just need, again, kind of similarly to the Packers, they need to work on the trenches. I'd love them to go and look for a bit more pass rush to help out Hutchinson. I think if you can put a secondary pass rusher in there, just to take a bit of the heat off, so he's not getting triple teamed every single down, that'll help. Cornerbacks, they can sometimes be a bit handsy and be a bit flag orientated,
I
but
think the problem with the cornerback is that Terrion Arnold's just not been good enough. They
there is
drafted
that.
him. I think he was a first rounder.
He's let
Yeah,
you
he
down,
was.
Dave.
He was.
He's let you down specifically because you
I said he
backed
was
that,
going to be
man.
trash. No, I didn't.
No, you
One of
said
you
Terry
sold
Arnold
him
was
to
the
me
guy who's going
last
to
year.
mop up a game.
No.
You said
One
don't
of you
be
definitely
surprised
sold
if there's going to be a game at the end of a game it mopped up saying, "Oh, Terry Arnold with the game clinching interception or whatever."
No.
You did. That's
I
your
might
boy.
have.
He's in your stable.
Listen, my favourite player for the Lions is Brian Branch. Always has been, always will be. I love Brian Branch. I think he's a phenomenal, and he covers a lot of the crap that Terry Arnold leaves on the field.
We'll have to go back on the tapes and listen to this because I swear you said about Terry
Um,
Arnold.
Hannah, I have Googled, and CBS did a piece on it, best hairstyles in the NFL 2025.
Hard-hitting
Apparently,
journalism.
yeah,
Watch out.
number three is the tapered mohawk from Patrick Mahomes. Don't remember that.
Don't remember
Incorrect.
Patrick
Okay.
Mahomes having a
Um,
tapered mohawk.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
rubbish.
It was
No.
short.
Number two is Fred Warner,
Yeah, okay, valid. He's
and
so
number one, are
handsome.
you ready to see your dinner again?
Mm.
Trevor Lawrence.
No!
There you go. That's why I had to mention it.
It's amazing what you can do in the off season when you're an NFL journalist, isn't
You
it?
know what I mean?
Garbage
Yeah.
hair. Clearly
Uh,
didn't consult my mother, who would have had a much better top three.
Yeah, fourth is Josh Allen. Go figure. I don't
Yeah, I
know.
mean,
Oh
valid.
my
He
God.
gets those little curls out the back. That's understandable. I'm with it.
Just
Do you know
a
what's also
Better than
imitator.
Van
Oh,
Ginkel? I don't think so.
no. There was that game where they played against each other, and my mum was losing her mind. She was like, "Look at all the hair! It's amazing." Van Ginkel and Delaney.
Can I just raise Talanoa Hufanga, please, and just say that boy has got one hell of a do.
Yeah.
That's how bad the Lions season is. We're talking about players'
Don't talk about hair. Come
haircuts.
on.
Yeah,
Do you
but
know?
that's
Do you know what?
that's just a Palomalu rip-off, though.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I agree, but Palomalu's do was quite something as well.
It was.
Yeah.
Do you know what I really enjoyed about the Lions this season was the tight end room, Tesla and Laporta when they were healthy. Um, I
And
thought for
so
a
I'm not.
while I thought they were the same person, if I'm honest.
Is
There's
But
the other
Tesla a
lad
yeah,
they've
tight
got.
end?
Yeah,
I thought he was a wide receiver.
I
Isn't
thought he was a receiver, Tesla, but I
yeah,
mean,
he's,
he
I mean,
they've
is.
got
He is. He's just
Zilstrom,
massive.
Shane Zilstrom as well, who's a pretty good tight end.
Yeah, and Fersker was pretty good as well when he did play.
Fisker, is
Yeah,
it
he?
Fisker?
Ferkser.
Ferkser.
We'll get there
He's like- he's-
eventually.
Yeah, he used to be in Tennessee, I think. He was good.
But yeah, I think it was all we all kind of thought it was going to happen that they wouldn't be as good without Ben Johnson, and they weren't as terrible as they could have been. And it was like the NFC North was like the swap of the NFC West, where like the top three teams in the NFC West were all like crazy powerhouse, and then the fourth was like, oh no, are you a football team? But then in the North, three of the four of them won 9 games.
Mm.
So even though yes, they're fourth, they had the same record um as the Vikings, which is bonkers bananas. How the Vikings got a winning record, I don't know. Basically the same record as the Packers as well. Like it very easily they could have been second.
yeah, it's
Which is
amazing.
crazy.
It's amazing how that tie against Dallas really helped Green Bay out, isn't it?
Yeah, big time, big time. So
But
yeah, I think they shouldn't be. I mean, they should be disheartened because obviously
Mm.
how they performed the year before. But I don't. I felt like with the Vikings and the Packers, we've been like they have to rebuild, they have to do this. They have like the Lions just need to play 5% better, and they could easily be top again.
they started the season 5-2 up until their week 8 bye. So, 5-2 going into a week 8 bye, that's solid. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
But they lost 4 of the last 6 games
yeah,
and not against great teams.
No,
So,
that's where the defense was struggling again.
yeah,
That's where
Mm.
they lost Joseph and
but that happened the year
Branch
before as well, didn't it?
yeah,
Josh
they
Hutchinson
just
last season,
didn't.
didn't
I think the problem was they tried to replace people on the offensive line that but and it didn't work. But
Right.
by doing that, it took away the fact that they were able to get any depth on the defense.
yeah.
10 minutes. Done.
Boom.
And a lot of good hairstyles as well.
The NFC North done.
Because
If I was in the
whoever-
NFL, I'd be like bottom 5 hairstyles, I think. My hair's just not very good at
Oh,
being
if I was in the
hair.
NFL, I'd make mine interesting.
Yeah, but
again.
yours is all the beard. Yours is
Yeah,
the
it is
beard.
now. But
Yeah.
if I was in the
Used to
NFL,
be.
I'd go back to my mohawk or something. I used to have a tapered mohawk. I used to have a big, long, floppy bit, and
So
all
What's that
So
kind
did
of
darts
I.
player?
flipping
Is
it
it
around.
Peter
and-
Wright or something? What's his name?
Yes,
Wright.
Peter
Who is-
Wright, the darts player.
Yeah.
Peter Wright was also an Australian
Paints
serial
his
killer.
hair. Paints his head,
Yeah.
doesn't he?
Yeah, paints his hair a different color every time he comes out.
Yeah.
Love that for him.
Do that. There we go. So that is the NFC North Autopsied. We'll be back next week with the AFC North, I guess. So to finish off the North, work our way all around the divisions. So yeah. Anything else you need to say before we get out of here?
The Seattle Seahawks are the Super Bowl champions.
Oh, for God's
And
sake!
let me guess, you went there last year.
Have I mentioned that?
You going again next year, Han?
Yeah.
She is. All right. Well, until next week then, when we do the AFC North.
I wish
I've
we
been
could all
Jim.
get a
That's been Hannah.
freeloading
That's been
trip to
Denver
go and
Dave.
see
That's
our
been
team.
Punk Raider. Thank you very much for listening.
Amen Ogbong Beminga. Ooh.